Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
I didn't want to yawn on the air. I'm going to cut that part out.
I thought that was how you started.
Just every podcast. Hi, I'm so bored of your opinion already. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Rivers Langley.
Hello.
Hey, Rivers.
Hey, Jay. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I braved West Hollywood on Melrose Trading Post.
Yeah,
Day.
Melrose Trading Post is a wonderful thing, but it totally fucks the parking up.
Yeah.
Everywhere for several blocks.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you braving that to make it here today.
Do you ever go to the Record Collector?
I do.
I
have no wait sorry, I'm thinking of the record people in Melrose Trading, but I've never been inside the actual Record Collector store.
Yeah.
Have you been in there?
I can link that almost directly with this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've collected records since probably like around freshman, sophomore year of college, and I kind of got out of it. I didn't get rid of all my records. I just moved to California, and all my records were in Alabama, and I didn't have access to them, so I kind of just stopped collecting.
Right.
And then about 2 years ago, I kind of got back into it and made an effort. I have all my records out here now, and I was looking for a record store. And like most of the time, like a record store, if you look it up on Yelp or TripAdvisor or whatever, the only reason a record store would have a low rating is because it's expensive.
Right.
You know, because most people, like especially record collectors, like the joy of being in a record store is flipping through the bins and looking at stuff.
The browse, you get to and finding stuff that you don't
and
expect.
If it's expensive, you kind of sit there and you have a conversation with yourself. You're like, all right, can I really afford a $30 copy of The Harder They Come or whatever it is? You know,
right.
This one. Have you ever read the Yelp reviews of the Record Collector?
No, I never have.
1 star.
All of them 1 star?
It like cumulatively, it's like a 1, maybe a 2-star rating.
Really?
And I saw that, and I'd never been in there, and I was like, how? You know, because I could see if it was like 3 stars because the prices were exorbitant.
Yeah.
That I get, but I was like, what's wrong with this store? And you start reading the reviews, and every single review of that record store is just like, the owner is the most insufferable prick on the planet. And it literally sounded like the Soup Nazi sort of a situation where there were these people just being like, this guy has everything and I hate his guts.
Wow.
And I was reading it and I figured out pretty quickly, if you go in that store, all of the in the front, you know, if you run a business, you want the appealing things in the front.
Of course.
So it would stand to reason you would have rock and roll, soul music, country music,
right?
You know, popular forms of music that are available on phonograph.
People will listen to.
Right. Because with record collecting, it's like, you know, most of the time it's going to be, you know, kind of a certain era, 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe. That's kind of what people dig.
Right.
The front of his store is all jazz and classical. And
that's the thing. I've seen that on the signs outside, and I'm like, that's not necessarily my genre. Like I have a record collection myself. I have a handful of jazz and classical stuff.
Fighting the urge to walk over there and start flipping through, actually.
But yeah, so he's got that right up front.
He's got it up front, and all of the reviews. Do yourself a favor. It's if you're listening to this, you don't live in Los Angeles. Even if you do live in Los Angeles, Record Collector on Melrose. Just look him up and read some of the reviews. They're the funniest things ever. Where it's people being like, he threw me out of his store because I wore sandals and shit like that. Where I'm just like, what? And I was reading it, and like his whole thing is like he's a jazz and classical guy, but he has rock, soul, country, like he has the popular genres in the back of the store,
right?
And you have to impress him. I'm not kidding. Like this
in
sounds
order to
like
get that far.
This sounds like I'm doing a fucking bit. You have to impress this man with your knowledge of jazz in order to get to the good stuff.
Really?
And he won't let you touch it because all of his records are in like almost like mint condition.
Okay.
So he has a helper man named Henry. His name is Sanders. He has a guy named Henry who's like this like hunched over, like they look to be about the same age, which is 1,000.
Okay.
And it's like, and neither of them are in particularly good shape, but he yells at Henry and orders him around, and he's just like, Henry! And he's like, find me the Willie Nelson! And this guy goes, okay. okay. And then he runs in the back, and he'll come back with all of the Willie Nelson records under his arms.
Oh, man.
And like show you, and you're like, and you feel bad not picking one because you're like, well, I already have City of New Orleans. I got Stardust. I've got all
back out to get all these records for me.
Yeah, and then he has to walk all the way back with all the Willie Nelson records. And then if you want Waylon Jennings, he has to do this. You know what I mean? So like, you feel bad. But I was reading all these reviews. This is before I went there. Mm-hmm. And it basically was just like, this is a very particular man who has a very particular idea of the way the world should operate, which is antithetical to how it actually operates.
Right.
And so all the reviews are just people just being like, fuck this guy. And then I became obsessed with passing the troll test. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, well, I'm going to get to the good shit in the back.
Right.
So I knew from reading the reviews, like, all right, first thing is when you walk in there, he's going to say, what are you looking for? And if you don't have something specific, he'll start screaming. And so when you walk in, he's supposed to go, what are you? And so like, I have about an inch deep knowledge of jazz music. I like it.
This is like music snob Indiana Jones trials.
It kind of is. Yeah. And
if you don't switch out quick enough, the boulder of an old man is going to start rolling
Sanders
down.
Will scream at you, and Henry will probably pick you up like a stack of records and put you outside like the tiger at the end of the Flintstones. But like, yeah, and so I was just like, I don't.
So you go in, you got to know something,
right? So my knowledge of jazz, I'm a basic bitch as far as jazz goes. I like your Mingus, I like Charlie Parker, I like Miles Davis, but I'm not a deep jazz head by any means. But there was a guy I was like, all right, this is specific enough so that he'll know I'm not. You know, even though I am a lightweight, he won't think I'm a lightweight.
Gotcha.
So he came and he was like, what are you looking for? I was like, I'm looking for a copy of Yusuf Lateef's 1968 album, Audio Physio Psychic. And he goes, oh, Yusuf Lateef, I remember him before he changed his name and all this stuff. And he just starts regaling me. I was like, I did it.
Yes.
And I wore sandals. I specifically was like, I'm going to walk in there, wear Tevas, and try to prove that it wasn't the fact that he had the sandals. It's because this guy went in there was like, I don't know, do you got any Journey records? Get the fuck out of my store.
If you want Journey, go to Melrose Trading Post.
Right, walk across the street. So I passed the troll test, and I paid about $20 for a copy of the Yusuf Lateef album, which is worth $8. So it's also extremely overpriced.
Hey,
is
man,
my point.
That's a record store for you.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this man actually has a lot of parallels with the lead character in the movie.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
We're talking about today, which is Phantom Thread.
Yes.
Phantom Thread.
Phantom Thread.
Oh man.
Which I have now watched the second time was last night. I watched for this podcast.
I appreciate that.
I'm less angry about it the second time. Like, it still does, because the first time I saw this movie, I saw it in theaters because I like Paul Thomas Anderson. Mm-hmm. There Will Be Blood is pretty much always in contention with, like, you know, The Big Lebowski or Fargo, you know, your better Coen Brothers films. Those are always sort of float around my number one, number two as far as movies that were released in my lifetime.
Paul Thomas Anderson's, or There Will Be Blood in particular, is absolutely my number one. Yeah. And has held that spot for many years.
Same here. It's like I said, it floats between 1 and 3, depending on how recently I've seen it.
Right.
But every time I watch that movie, I'm like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
And I remember when Phantom Thread, if you don't remember, very recent, 2017 American historical period drama film written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, set in the London fashion world in 1954, stars Daniel Day-Lewis as a couturier who takes a young waitress as his muse. Yeah. Now, this movie feels... I remember seeing the trailers for this movie and not knowing what it was going to be about.
Same here.
I was so confused.
Based on the trailer, because the only little hint of the plot that they give you, and it's not even a plot point, it's just like a thing, is like, you know, I hide things in the canvas lining of the dresses.
Secrets in the dresses.
Yeah, and I was thinking it was like a World War II thing where it was like, oh, this is how they like smuggle some like Nazi codes across enemy lines, or, you know, like, because that literally the trailer gave you nothing, and it turns out the movie was nothing. But the trailer gave you absolutely no idea, and so I was like you, I was like, fuck yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson, Daniel Day-Lewis. Hit me with it.
I trust it. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
So describe what your experience in the movie theater was like.
I didn't know I had this emotion. but the emotion is angry bored. Like, I was so pissed at how bored it was making me.
Okay.
Like, it was just kind of like clawing at me, just like I was turning into a human raisin, just slowly just shrinking in anger into my seat, just like turning into now the second time I've watched it, I will admit that I think that's kind of the point, is to annoy the shit out of you as an audience member.
I think you might be, well, because my point of view on this movie is I had gone in to see it, and these days I'm trying to go more and more into movies with as little expectation as possible.
Yeah.
Sometimes to the point where I will read the plot of a movie on Wikipedia before I go in, just so I can sit there and absorb it.
Yeah, I probably should have done that maybe with this one, but
I didn't, and I didn't do that for Phantom Thread because I was just like, I'm all right. I believe that these guys know how to make another good movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what I expected at all. But the way that the story played out, it was one of those movies where it just felt very slow for a while, but then all of a sudden there was a turn right around the part where, and of course this is going to be full of spoilers.
Yes.
So if you haven't figured that out by the time this 100 and something episode has come out,
it's been
listeners,
2 years, motherfuckers.
You should watch this movie. But it's right around the time when the poisoning first went down. I was like, oh, this shit is getting complicated real quick.
Yeah.
I'm very on board now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying.
So let's talk about, because I haven't had somebody with like a difference of opinion on the podcast in a while.
Okay, good.
To the degree that we have.
Yeah.
Because I think that this movie really snuck up on me how much I liked it.
Yeah.
I didn't really go in expecting a lot out of this movie, and it is a very small scale movie,
right?
And it's a very I guess, I mean, the best way to describe it is a simple story. It has all these other grand elements because of it being a period piece, and because you have Daniel Day-Lewis playing this super arch character,
right?
Who's very just super particular and very not likable.
Yeah.
And in a way that's very and it's really hard to like anybody in this movie.
Right. Yeah. I like Cyril because the whole time I was like, she's gonna kill both of them, I hope.
Yeah.
Is what I was hoping that this movie would end with, is that she would just kill both of them and then be the Donatella Versace.
Right.
Know? Yeah.
But the thing is, for me, I was when she poisons him in his tea for the first time.
Right.
Then everything changes, because then you finally get a chance to actually like people, and that's the whole point of the movie too. Is like, well,
God.
It takes this person almost being killed in order for you to like them and for you to accept them and have any sympathy for them.
Yeah, I think almost all, and this became very clear as I was watching it last night, because like I said, my it's not that my opinion changed, it's just it softened a little bit. I had just a fucking hard edge hatred of this movie because because of how bored it made me. And then I watched it again and I was like, oh, because all right, what are your thoughts on ASMR?
You know, I'm not somebody who goes and seeks out ASMR.
It drives
videos.
Me crazy.
I don't understand the fascination with it.
Whatever the effect is that it has on people where it makes them like feel great, it has the nails on a chalkboard opposite effect on me. So anytime I have those fucking whisper videos where some lady is just, like talking about how to make soap or whatever, and I'm just like, it infuriates me. And this whole movie, like I wrote down every instance of it.
Oh my God.
The sounds of shaving cream and folding, pin scratching, coffee being poured, let's see, clinking glasses, the sounds of breakfast.
The sounds of breakfast.
It was
the Lost Beach Boys album we never got.
Breakfast sounds. Paper crumpling, crunching snow. Let's see. There was it goes on and
There's
on.
a lot of sound. There's a lot of weird sounds and sound design in this movie. It's very intense.
That's what started it for me, was that it was just like sonically annoying to me.
Okay.
Like just how queued up. They had the damn mics when the sound of they have the sound of folding clothes. It doesn't make sounds.
That's the thing, you know.
Unless you're rubbing a microphone on a dress,
Right.
Dresses don't make sounds.
It's got some very weird Foley requests.
Yeah,
for the people. In the
whole
studio.
movie is Foley. There's too much Foley in this movie. It was like Royal Rumble '97. Too much Foley.
So, all right. So, as you're watching the movie a second time, what are the things that stuck out to you as stuff that you still did not like?
Well, yeah, it's. I'll come clean. I think this time it was only going up for me. There was, because I kind of understood, I guess, that like part of, I think the reason that they have the sound so teed up like that is to eventually get to the part where Daniel Day-Lewis is just like, you're making too much noise at breakfast. And I think I think Paul Thomas Anderson is trying to gaslight the audience into becoming Woodcock. That's what I think.
That's his. By the way, can I just express how happy I am? Reynolds Woodcock, what a character name.
And DDL came up with it.
Really?
I was reading up on it. So they were very collaborative in this effort, which is also annoying because Daniel Day-Lewis, the reason he retired from acting supposedly is that this character took so much out of him and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. And this is a movie, and it's again, to the scale of this movie, Paul Thomas Anderson acted as his own cinematographer for this one.
Yeah,
it's very much a movie that's sort of hard to penetrate from the outside and makes you feel like you're in this world of it's like I don't want to be there, but I can't leave, and I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
So okay, so very difficult process for DDL on this movie.
But yeah, DDL and PTA, Jesus, this sounds like Scientology now. DDL and PTA, they collaborated on this movie, and I believe Paul Thomas Anderson told Daniel Day-Lewis to name the character, and he came up with Reynolds. Is it his middle name?
Reynolds something
Bennett
Woodcock
or something Woodcock,
something like that.
Yeah, something ridiculous.
There's also great character names in this movie, like Nigel Cheddargood.
Yeah, Lady Baltimore,
Tippy. I'm looking
Pippa,
Countess Henrietta Harding.
Yeah.
They're very good stuff.
He was so mad about Henrietta Harding. Yeah.
Oh, he was not happy about Henrietta Harding. There's a lot in this movie. Daniel Day-Lewis, over the course of his career, has played. He's very well known for being the most method actor possible. And this movie,
whose joke is this? I fucking can't remember whose joke this is. And I'm gonna maybe venture Mike Lawrence, but somebody says Daniel Day-Lewis lives at the bottom of a well and they just lower scripts down to him.
Daniel Day-Lewis is kind of like. He's like Bill Murray in the sense of like
he's really annoying.
He's really hard to get in touch with. He's really like you don't want like everybody theoretically wants to meet Bill Murray, right? And I think everybody theoretically wants to meet Daniel Day-Lewis too. But if you met them, I bet you'd probably hate both of them.
I was
going to
say I have written down in my notes. This movie is how I imagine DDL's day-to-day life is.
Yeah,
pretty much, except just supplant fashion design with acting.
Or what's it? He's a cobbler. He's a trained cobbler.
Like Adam Sandler, he's a cobbler, baby. Except he lives in fucking Italy,
right?
Or is it Ireland?
I think he lived in Italy for a number of years.
And trained as a cobbler or something.
That was what he was doing before There Will Be Blood.
That's right. Yeah.
I remember watching news coverage of that when There Will Be Blood was out and the press junkets are out there, and I was like, oh, this man lives a life.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Daniel Day-Lewis seems like this kind of. Watching this character, watching Reynolds Woodcock as a character, be such an unlikable, ornery old man who's just so. He's like. I can understand why Daniel Day-Lewis wanted to retire from acting after doing this, because if you had to embody being somebody that unlikable without any kind of real power in the way that oh God, I feel so dumb for blanking on what's his name from There Will Be Blood.
Daniel Plainview.
Yeah. Daniel Plainview at least is like a powerful, bombastic, interesting character to embody.
Yeah.
Reynolds Woodcock is so different in the way the character actually is.
Yeah.
That it seems like I would hate to pretend to be that person for several months on end.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I think the only movie that I can kind of compare this to, as far as because this is totally a personal reaction to it, was the first time I saw Five Easy Pieces.
I've never seen Five Easy Pieces.
So it's Jack
Elaborate.
Nicholson, and he doesn't freak out at any point. And you're just like waiting for it, and then it never happens, and you kind of feel like you got Jack Nicholson blue balls, and that's kind of how I felt with this. I was like,
you were waiting for the DDL freak out.
I was waiting for him to fucking break a window or fucking kill somebody. I don't know. Yeah, there was a lot of stored up kinetic energy from past DDL performances that just didn't ever release. So again, that has nothing to do with the film necessarily, more to do with, I guess, my expectations of, the way his characters always are,
right,
or whatever. But yeah, there was a lot of tension built up in this movie that I just felt never got paid off. And I guess it's sort of similar. I mean, to bring up another Paul Thomas Anderson thing, similar to The Master a little bit.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of tension built up. And then when it finally does get released, it's just in that, that moment of Dodd, telling Freddy, like, in the next life we'll be sworn enemies or whatever,
right,
where there's the actual change that happens. And in this one, I don't think, does anybody change? Really?
I don't think. I mean, that's the thing. The only I think that there is not necessarily change, but there's a lot. Well, it's hard to say there's not change, because I think the characters do change by the end, but it's them changing in a way that is not the way I expected. I didn't expect the story to end the way it did. I thought that something was I thought that there was going to be straight up. I thought that Alma was going to be murdered, or something terrible was going to happen to her.
That's kind of what I thought too. He was going to find out,
right? And then, but that's the thing. The scene there. When I watch a movie and I'm enjoying the movie, I find myself often when a scene happens and a movie goes from a good movie to a great movie for me.
Yeah.
For this, it was the scene where she's cooking the mushrooms for the omelet.
So much butter,
and
dude.
and so much butter. He loves his butter. She just wants to feed.
Well, no, he doesn't. He likes his asparagus in oil and salt.
But she's trying to make him her butter boy. And she knows that she's going to turn him and make him love the butter, just like she makes him love her. And she's cooking the mushrooms in the butter, and he knows that they're poisonous.
Yeah.
And she's about to feed him the omelet, and it's just the tension of the scene is just, it's ratcheted so high, because you're like, he's about to stab the bitch with a knife.
I was like, there's knives everywhere.
She's done.
Yeah.
And then he decides, and then he's like, I'm gonna eat this omelet and she's like, I want you to be sick so I can take care of you. And he's like, okay. And that was the part where I was like, oh, this movie's all kinds of fucked up. This is the secret. This is a secretly like weird movie about abusive relationships, but also accepting of stuff.
Yeah,
and the kinds of things that people do in order to stay in love. And it's very like that scene for me was just that's saved. That I'm not going to say it saved the movie, but that's what elevated it for me.
The last 5 seconds of the movie really.
Well, that happens sometimes.
Really pulled it out. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I guess
it's yeah. I mean, I think. What do you think about the movie? In having watched it and been so bored the first time, were you able to feel less boredom the second time you watched it?
Yes. I will say,
How did that change for you? Like, what were some of the things that you were able to actually enjoy about it?
I guess I was just really, really trying to focus on. I'll say this. I was trying to like find what it was specifically that pissed me off the first time. And I realized, like I said, that I think that the fact that they make the Foley so annoying, the fact that they make everything about how mannered this guy's lifestyle is so irritating to a normal person, that I think they're trying to make, like I said, I think they're trying to make the audience into Woodcock. Like, I think they're trying to make everybody in that way of thinking, where it's like you're distracting me at breakfast. I'm sitting in a movie and I want stuff to happen and it's not happening and I'm unhappy. Like, they're trying to turn the audience into the kind of like childish asshole, I guess, that
right.
That
and
I
you're
don't know.
watching a man eat plain toast. No, he's just putting the jelly on it, and that's it. And you're just like, it's so loud hearing the thing scrape, and that's the thing that's one of the. I remember him getting mad about how loud it is. And I was
loud. I was mad about it.
Okay,
he was echoing my sentiments.
I see what's going on here. You're a man who can't hold it. You're a man who's so particular that you can't let anyone else into your life.
I guess I think that might be it. I might be Woodcock.
Could be.
Yeah.
Fuck.
No, I was. Yeah, I think. Just watching it this time. I don't know. I think as I was watching it, honestly, I was like, I might fuck around and end up liking this movie, kind of, because we talked about this because I had a very strong opinion of it, but I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters.
Right. Yeah.
And then we were gonna do this. I was like, well, I gotta watch it again, and I was dreading it. I actually watched The Master first because I was like, well, I want to watch a good one before I watch this one. And then I watched it, and I was like, yeah, okay.
It's the thing about this movie.
It's
Paul
fine.
Thomas, that's why. And I mentioned this when I talked to Ken about Magnolia. Is I do think Paul Thomas Anderson is the best working director right now.
Yeah.
Because over the course of his career, he has made such varied movies that all still feel sort of tied together in the same vein. He's doing characters that are unlikable, not necessarily anti-heroes,
right?
In the cool Walter White way.
Yeah, no,
just difficult people.
Yeah. I guess so. I mean, it's I guess the obvious comparison with this one is Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah,
which is a movie that I liked a lot.
I did too,
but I didn't. It was one of those, like, I was in high school when that came out, and I was on that run that most people go through in high school, where like you watch a bunch of artsy films and you're just a dick about it. And that was definitely in that category of just like, oh, you haven't seen it yet? Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
What's the art house cinema scene like out in Alabama?
Oh, I mean, it's
does it exist? Is there like there's the one theater or two of them?
There is exactly one theater in my area. It's not. I grew up in Auburn, Alabama, which is about 15 minutes from the border with Georgia.
Okay,
so the big, quote unquote, big cities are Columbus, Georgia, and Montgomery, Alabama.
Gotcha.
And Montgomery. And this actually has a movie tie-in as well. Montgomery has exactly one cool neighborhood. It's Old Cloverdale, and in the middle of Old Cloverdale is the Capri Theater.
Okay,
and it is an art house cinema, and so you can actually go there to watch. This is 100%. That's the only place Phantom Thread was playing until it got nominated for an Oscar.
Gotcha.
And then usually we have two huge movie theaters in Auburn that are owned by the same company. So a lot of times when the Oscar bait comes out, they'll get a release because there's like 40 screens in our town or whatever.
Right,
you know, so they'll get a small release for at least a weekend when the Oscar stuff comes out. But yeah, the Capri Theater is the cool is the one, like, quote unquote art house cinema, like, and it's 45-minute drive from Auburn, which is
but I had to do that life too.
In LA terms, that ain't shit. But in Alabama, it's like, God damn, I ain't driving 45 minutes to go see Daniel Day-Lewis fucking pout in a mansion.
That's what
shit.
Hey, that's what I did to go see. I grew up in the suburbs of Dallas, and we had a lot of movie theaters around in the actual suburbs. Like you got your Tinseltown, you got your Harkins. Is he? No, I think he's from.
Houston,
I think he's from.
I'm thinking of Wes Anderson.
You're thinking of Wes Anderson.
Yeah,
Wes Anderson's from Houston.
PTA's from the Valley. Never mind.
PTA's a Valley. Exactly.
Yeah, he's a Valley kid. That's right. That's
why he made Magnolia and Boogie Nights.
That's right.
He's Valley. He's 818 till he dies.
That's right.
He's in the Brody Stevens mold.
That's right.
But yeah,
I'm thinking of the other bow-tied director.
The other Anderson.
Yeah.
The other weird particular Anderson.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is like I remember we would drive to the only art house place in town. Everywhere else nearby there was no way they were going to be showing movies like There Will Be Blood.
Sure.
I mean, the only reason that No Country for Old Men...
I saw that in theaters, actually. I saw it when it came out at Winsong 16 in Auburn.
So I went for There Will Be Blood, I had to go to the Angelica in Dallas, which is the art house theater in Dallas. I saw and we drove out, and it's a 45-minute drive, but then you're like 17 years old, and you're like, man, this is good. This is the movie, man.
Yeah, dude.
This is all I need, man.
Yeah, man. The Old Cloverdale, the movie, the movie connection to that place is that the movie Big Fish. So Tim Burton, they filmed that in and around Montgomery.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's actually the scene with Carl the giant when he comes out of the cave and is like yelling at Ewan McGregor. That is that's on that's in Wetumpka Wetumpka, Alabama, on the Tallapoosa River, and that beach we used to camp at when I was a Boy Scout. Like we did 50-mile canoe trips, and we'd start in Tuskegee and paddle from Tuskegee down to Wetumpka, and that was our last campsite.
Oh, wow.
And then like a few years later, that movie came out. I was like, shit, I know that. But anyway, Tim Burton put everybody up in Old Cloverdale, and he rented these, they have these old, big houses. They're all from Victorian period, and they're beautiful old homes. Tim Burton rented a bunch of them for the cast. And so Danny DeVito, Steve Buscemi, Ewan McGregor, like they all had Albert Finney. They all had these little houses on the row. Danny DeVito and Steve Buscemi liked their homes so much they bought them. And so every once in a while, to this day, that movie came out in like 2003. To this day, every once in a while, Steve Buscemi or Danny DeVito will just be in Montgomery drinking at the bar, like working on stuff.
That's a real sign.
They were just so charmed by it. Yeah,
I love that.
So my buddy Justin used to work at a restaurant called Sinclair, at Sinclair's, and he was closing up one night, and Steve Buscemi was just sitting at the bar. He's like, "Is that fucking Steve Buscemi?" The fuck? And he ended up like hanging out with him. Apparently, real nice guy. And he's like, "Yeah, I like the house so much, I just bought it." He's like, "I live here, yeah." And he just rents it out the rest of the year.
If you're Airbnb-ing it out from good old Steve Buscemi,
yeah, dude.
That's a way to do it.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. Now that you've seen it again, you've come around. Edgar really
Edgar's
is on
your
board
cat,
with your
Edgar
notes.
is sitting on my notes. I wanted to pull out my notes and see if I had some good closing thoughts.
Yeah,
oh, don't eat that, Edgar.
Oh, Edgar. Oh no, that's the downside to not recording at the Comedy Store studio. Is now it's kind of an upside and a downside. We got a cat now, but the cat is cat also wants to be absorbed in cinema and eat these notes.
Come on, I'll take Edgar over the ghost of a murdered mobster any day.
Me too. Oh, look at that sweet little guy. Okay, so anything else that you didn't like about this movie continued even after you sort of had this experience of coming around a little bit? Anything you wish that was different?
I wish they would have gone other places. There's the scene at the beginning where he goes, let's see, what is the exact line? He's putting the dress on, and he goes, "Let's take it for a walk." And then they never go anywhere for the rest of the movie. They're either in the country house or the city house, and it's just... Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think you're the experience of rewatching this for the podcast has maybe, this is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle at work, has turned my opinion. I think, if I observe my own opinion of it too closely, it's because I was being annoyed by the clinking glasses and how many wooden rooms they were just standing in.
You got sucked in.
Yeah, I don't like it necessarily. It's definitely my least favorite of his movies, or at least of the ones I've seen. I never saw the first one, Heart 8. Yeah, I've never seen that one either. That's my one that's still on the shelf. But yeah, it's still my least favorite of the PTA oeuvre, if I can use a Reynolds Woodcock word. But let's see, what else do I have? Yeah, I think just the things there was a really weird part where Lady Baltimore at the very end goes, "I don't mean to be racist, but this is sort of a custom of her country that at night they start to steal things." And I was like, isn't she French? What the fuck? Is that a French thing?
Racist against the French, I guess.
I was thinking. I was like, isn't Alma French? What do you mean? I don't mean to be racist.
Oh,
and also, are the French just known for stealing things when the full moon is out? Like they're klepto werewolves?
Yeah, klepto werewolves.
Yeah.
I feel like the English and the French are always going to have a weird relationship, and they're going to be sniping at each other. And that's about. It's like the English and the Irish. They're always going to hate each other too.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, they got reasons though.
Man. To be in Europe and to only be able to be racist against other white people in the 50s. What a time! What a time it must have been. This is it's one of those movies, and I really would like to watch a lot of. I feel like I need to see the whole Paul Thomas Anderson collection over again, because I haven't watched one since Phantom Thread. I love There Will Be Blood. I love The Master.
Yeah.
I remember watching. I watched Punch Drunk Love in college for a class, and I was very divided in the class. Some people really liked it.
Yeah.
Some people hated it. And I was like, oh, this I see what he's going for in this movie, though. That's kind of it's in the same vein of where I think Paul Thomas Anderson in Phantom Thread is trying to make you feel like Reynolds Woodcock or get you in his head.
Yeah.
Because it's a character study. So Punch Drunk
Yeah.
Love also, same deal, where you're supposed to feel as crazy as Adam Sandler does in this whole movie.
I love it, but at least that one he goes and confronts Philip Seymour Hoffman. You know, he goes to the Mattress Kings. Like, you know, like, I don't know. There's just this shit happens.
That's true.
They're moving.
I mean, yeah, he's yelling he's screaming in a stairwell and
Breaking a plunger for a marriage plunger.
it's pretty great.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, it's the thing. This is it's different from other Paul Thomas Anderson work. It's more quiet. It's a lot more grounded.
Yeah.
And that's why I think
Supposedly the whole
People aren't-
movie happened because he was sick and Maya Rudolph, his wife, was taking very good care of him. And he was like, I like this. That's
Let's-
literally what he said. That's
make a whole
why
movie
the
about it.
I was like, okay.
And I will commend the people who made the trailers for this movie for not giving anything away.
Oh, I love now having lived in Los Angeles for a while and knowing people whose job it is to put together trailers. Like I can imagine just them watching this movie and be like, what do we even do here? What is this?
How do we make this thing look like anything worth watching?
Right.
And they still kind of didn't do that
No.
either. Like
They made me think it was going to have to do with like the war or something. I don't know.
it's like solving an escape room.
Yeah.
Like you had to make this movie. You had to make people kind of this be appealing to people, or else you're not going to get a job.
Right.
You're done.
Yeah. Have you heard the trilogy thing about Paul Thomas Anderson? That was so when The Master came out, there was like this thing online where it was like, oh, that Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, and The Master is supposed to be like an examination of this, like sort of the same character type, but just with different like period circumstances, and then also like family arrangements.
Oh, interesting.
So
I could see that.
So it was like supposed to be like this, you know, this sort of like petulant man like
Right.
going through, and you were supposed to watch it in, I think, whatever it is, like reverse order. So you would start with the oldest one. You'd start with There Will Be Blood, and then you see that guy like being affected by war and like, you know, all that stuff, becoming Joaquin Phoenix, and then becoming Adam Sandler in like the modern age.
I could see Adam Sandler jerking off on a beach.
Yeah,
That's-
exactly.
You might be onto something there. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, and so now, but I think, you know, that came out when The Master came out, that whole theory online, and now you watch this one, you're like, God, it's kind of the same guy, and it's also the same time period as The Master too. So it's just like,
yeah, it's true.
I was
Parallels.
like, they might, if Philip Seymour Hoffman wasn't dead, they might run into each other in England, because that's where both of those movies end.
Oh boy. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on, and thank
I appreciate
you
you turning my opinion slightly around on this. I don't hate it as much as I hated it initially.
That's good.
Yeah,
It's a movie that's it's easy to hate from the outside, but you just got to let it in, man. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you did. I'm glad I was able to change your mind a little bit, but not totally.
The whole time I was just reminded of the smooth lyrics of Isaac Hayes in the Shaft theme song. He's a complicated man. No one understands him but his woman. Cock. I'm just talking about Woodcock, baby.
Oh my God! Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
today,
thank you
man.
for having me.
What's the best way that listeners can find your other work?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rivers Langley, and you can check out my podcast. It's called The Goods from the Woods. It comes out every Tuesday on iTunes and all of the great podcast platforms.
Badass.
And I think that's it. I'm going on tour in April on the East Coast, but yeah, just follow me on Twitter and you can come
Find
see
all those dates
Come
then.
see me. I haven't figured my shit out just yet.
You know, get
I'm not as
there.
organized as Reynolds Woodcock.
Reynolds Woodcock would have the notes for all of his shows. It was sewn into his jacket right now, so you could just look in for a reference.
I need a staff of homely English women doing my bidding for me.
while you throw up on a dress. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates. I will be going out on the road with Roast Battle a little bit this month and next month, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm going all over. I'm going to Alabama. I'm going to Huntsville.
What?
We're doing some shows at the new Stand Up
At
Live.
Stand Up Live, yeah.
Huntsville, Nashville. Houston, Denver, Austin a couple times. So yeah, check the website, jlightcomedy.com.
So are y'all like roasting each other on the road? Is that the idea?
Road fights, baby.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're gonna bring in some locals too, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I don't know why I was asking that. Like I expected, like, no, it's a variety show. We're all gonna.
I mean, it kind of is. It's kind of like a circus.
It's gonna be you and Keith, Gary, and Connor coming out in spangly outfits like the Brady Bunch variety show.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot. There's gonna be a lot of fringe coming off of my arms. That's just just glitter sequins.
Oh, that's perfect.
And if you like the show, please leave a rating, subscribe, tell a friend, all that good stuff. And this has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.